Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Rosa Maria. Today I have a very simple, easy sewing project for beginners. We are going to learn how to make this cute bag. As you can see, it's very cute. It has a zipper. Let me show you. Let me open up the zipper. And we're working with no pocket, trying to keep it as simple as possible. The handles, you can cut it according to the size you want. You want it longer or shorter, whichever you prefer. But this is a very nice, easy, simple sewing project to make that you could take maybe an afternoon on a weekend to make. So grab all your tools and materials and let's get started on this project. Materials and tools you're going to be needing for this project. You're going to be needing a cotton fabric for lining and two separate solid colors of fabric that is cotton, two of them, and also interface. You'll be needing a ruler, a zipper, a coordinating thread of your choice, fabric clips, sewing pins, and you can use your rotary cutter, rotary cutter, or you can use a pair of scissors. And it's good to have a seam ripper in case you make a mistake, and also a friction pen that is a washable pen for your fabric. Before you cut your fabric, make sure that you iron it very well to remove all the creases. And once you remove all the creases, you're going to cut this main fabric, one piece you'll be needing, and the size you're going to be cutting is 35 centimeters by 28 centimeters. And then you're going to cut one piece of interface, and also you're going to be cutting 35 centimeters by 28 centimeters. So once you cut these two pieces very well out, I want to show you something here. Hopefully you can see it in the camera. You're going to take the side that is very shiny and sticky, and you are going to place that sticky side over onto the fabric here piece. And once you do that, you're going to iron it very well. And I'm going to show you a one that I already ironed. So this one is already ironed. See how nice it sticks? So this is how it's going to look once you iron the interface onto the cotton fabric. Okay, once you're done with that, next you need to do is you need to cut 4 pieces of interface. Okay, and I have them over here, 4 pieces. And you're going to cut these 4 pieces of interfaces. These going to be 10 centimeters here, and it'll be 35 centimeters. So make sure you cut 4 pieces of the interface, and then you'll be cutting 2 pieces, one of the color that I chose for the solid, and also it'll be 10 centimeters by 35 centimeters. And I also cut 2 of the other solid piece of fabric, and also 10 centimeters by 35 centimeters. So cut out these pieces and make sure they're all ironed out very well. And the next step I'm going to show you is, again, you're going to take one of the solids and you're going to take one of your interface. And again, make sure that the shiny area is you see is going to be facing down, and then you're going to iron that. And you're going to do the same thing for the other 3 pieces. And let me show you. So once you have completed ironing the interface onto the 4 pieces, this is what it's going to look like. Make sure that it sticks very well. And if it's not, just give it another a nice little ironing there. So I am done with this piece here. Now next, we are going to take that main fabric that we finished ironing the interface to. So now we are going to take this lighter color, and then I'm gonna face it, as you can see here. Make sure that both of the solid colors are facing each other. And I'm gonna take my paper clip so I can secure the fabric together. And one more here. And then the same thing, I'm going to make the other piece, the matching, and I'm going to face it down so they could both of the solid colors are facing each other. And again, I'm going to clip. Once you have done that, we are going to take it to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch right here all across on both sides. So make sure that you are aware that it's going to be on both sides here at the end. So we're going to sew the seam allowance we're going to be using is 1/4, and make sure that the stitch length is number 3.5 on your sewing machine. Now back stitch. Back stitch. And now we're going to sew the other side. Back stitch. Back stitch. Now that we finished stitching straight across, I'm going to open it up, use my finger to press the fabric. You could use your iron. I've been using the iron because the ironing has become my best friend. It gives a nice good pressing. So once we do that, we're going to take the other two solid fabrics, and then now I'm going to make sure that both of these solid fabrics are facing together. And again, we're going to start the process again. We're going to start to clip. And do the same thing to the other side. Take the solid color and make sure both of the solid colors are facing together, facing each other. And we're going to start to clip it also on this side. Okay. Now that that's done, we're going to take it to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch here 1/4 of an inch on both sides. And once we do that, and we are going to top stitch over here. And if you have one of those sewing machines with a needle, you could adjust it more far to the right, then you can do that. So I'll show you how to do that. First, we're going to stitch right across 1/4 on both of these sides, and then I'm going to show you how to top stitch using your needle more to your right. I'll show you. Let's go to the sewing machine. Okay, now we're going to start to sew. Remember, 1/4, back stitch, back stitch, now we're going to work on the other side, the other end. Back stitch, back stitch, So here we're gonna top stitch, and as you can see, I'm aligning the foot presser against here, the edge of this fabric here, the lighter color. And then I'm going to now move, as you can see, it was center. Now I'm moving it more to the left. I don't know why I said to the right, but I'm sorry, I meant more to the left. Sorry about that. So now we are going to sew, back stitch, and then we're going to continue to top stitch. Back stitch. And now we're going to do the same thing to this end here, which we attached. And now, okay, now we are going to top stitch. So now this side we're going to go more to the right. Okay. Sometimes I get myself confused here, but as you can see, when I was top stitching, I went to my left. Here we're going to top stitch. We're going to be going to our right. Okay. Back stitch. And back stitch. Okay. Now we are going to do this to the other side here. And just fix these thread, get it out of the way. Okay, line up the foot presser. Make sure that the needle is more to the left here. And I start again. Back stitch. And we're going to continue to sew. Back stitch. Now we're working on our last one here to top stitch. Now I'm going to move first. Let me just put the foot presser down and move the needle to the right. And now we're going to start to sew. Back stitch. Back stitch. As you can see, we attach the solid piece onto the fabric. We sewed it, and then once we've done that, we top stitch here where the light fabric is. Top stitch, and top stitch. So now we are going to take this and put it aside. I have here my wool mat, and I'm going to take 2 pieces of fabric, and the size here for these 2 pieces that you need to cut is the handle, and this is of course 8 centimeters, and this is going to be 60 centimeters. For both of them are 60 centimeters. And once that you finish cutting the handles to those measurements, and also keep in mind that you can adjust the length of the handles that you prefer. So you can make it shorter, longer, whatever works for you. So now that I have cut one piece here of the handle, we are going to fold it in half. And once we fold it in half, we're going to take our iron and give it a good press. So once that is done, you're going to open it up, and you're going to use the folding marking that we have made with the iron, and we're going to use that as our guide. And now we are going to refold our handles. And again, we are going to use our iron to give it a good press. Now I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Fold it in half, give it a good press. Now that we finish doing that, I'm going to refold it again and give it a good pressing. You could keep the iron on longer on the fabric just to make sure that everything stays put. And then we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and then of course we're going to stitch all the way across, and then make a little turn, and then stitch going all the way across up here, and we will be done doing that. And you're going to be doing that for both of the handles here, and we're going to take it to the sewing machine and I will show you. Okay, here at the sewing machine I have my needle far right all the way to the right, and I have this little tape because it's going to help me align the stitch real straight. So here I go. So back stitch, and I'll remove the fabric clip so it makes it easier for me to continue sewing. I'm coming here to the end, so I'm gonna lift my foot presser, pivot, and then sew. Do the same thing here. Lift my needle, and then I'm going to continue to start to sew straight. Coming to the end, back stitch, and we are done. Finished stitching our handles, and as you can see, I just wanted the stitches to be as close and aligned so it looks nice. So once these two are done, we're going to move this to the side, and then we're going to take our main fabric, okay, and we're going to take our friction pen and also our ruler, and we're going to measure here 8 centimeters, and we're going to mark 8 centimeters over here. I'm going to make that marking, and do the same thing to the other side. 8 centimeters. Turn the bag, well, the main fabric over. Take the ruler, 8 centimeters and 8 centimeters. Once we finish making those markings, then we're going to take our one of our handles and our fabric clip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the handle right alongside the mark here, and then use a fabric clip to secure the handle, and then make sure that this is also aligned here against the line and add a pip, can't even speak, fabric clip. We're gonna flip it to the other side, do the same thing, align, add your fabric clips, make sure this is also straight, and align. And then we're gonna take it to the sewing machine, and then we are going to stitch across several times to make sure that the handle is secure to the main fabric over here. So we're gonna do that to all 4. We're gonna sew that. Okay, let's go to the sewing machine. Okay, now I'm gonna start to sew. Back stitch and then go over the fabric and then hit reverse. That's 1, that's another 3 here. And then we got 4. I'm coming in the middle and leaving it right there. Now, working on the other handle here. Back stitch, and then go over the fabric, the handle, and go back over. Another one. And this is going to be the last time, and I'll make it in the middle. And we're done. So make sure that you also sew the other handle to the main fabric. As you can see, we finished stitching the handle to the main fabric. So both handles are stitched, which is great. So now I'm gonna fold this, as you can see here. I'm gonna fold it. So once it's really folded, I'm going to take some fabric clip and use that to secure or to sandwich the fabric together. And the other side too, making sure it's aligned. And one more here. Now at this end, I'm gonna take my ruler and my friction pen. So right over here is 4 centimeters. And then over here, I'm gonna make it 5 centimeters. So I'm gonna just go up here. Make sure it's aligned correctly, and then do this, and then do the same thing over here. So we want it 4 centimeters high, and then we want it 5 centimeters long. And let me just line up this. First, let me just do this here, get this, and then, here we go. Okay, so as you can see, we have 4 centimeters by height, and then the width is 5 centimeters. So once you have both of these ends done, so I'm going to snip, cut off, so that's one, and I'm going to cut off the other one. Okay. So once you have these 2 pieces here, the corners cut off, then we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and then we are going to we are going to sew 1/4 here, 1/4 inches right over here. So let's go to the sewing machine. So we're going to sew 1/4 seam allowance, back stitch, Now I'm going to sew the other side. Back stitch. Back stitch. As you can see, we stitch both sides here. Now that that is done, we're going to take the corners and we're going to align them. And I'm going to open up here the seam, and I'm going to take fabric clip here to hold it down. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I just want to make sure everything is nicely lined and the seam open. Okay, let me just do this one more time. Okay. All right. The seam is open. And I'm going to take the fabric clip and hold that down. And hold that down. So we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and then we're going to stitch 1/4 seam allowance across for both of them. So let's go to the sewing machine and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, I'm going to start to sew the back stitch. Back stitch. And now we're going to sew the other corner. Let's remove that fabric clip. As you can see, we finished stitching the corners, which is great. Now I'm going to turn it inside out. And this is what the bag looks like from the outside. It's really cute. So now I'm going to show you the next step. The next step is you need to cut your lining. And the lining you need to cut, this measurement size is, of course, 62 centimeters by 35 centimeters. So once you cut this piece out, then you're going to fold. I'm going to turn the fabric this way. You're going to fold it in half. And once you fold it in half, then you're going to take your ruler and your friction pen, and then we are going to measure for the height 4 centimeters, and then for the width will be 5 centimeters. So I'm going to use my ruler to help me make my marking, and then here we go. So I have one corner here, and then I'm going to go to the other side here and do the same thing. Measure 4 centimeters high, and then 5 centimeters for the width. Okay, so make sure I got this right here. And let me get my little Okay, so again, 4 centimeters for the height and 5 centimeters for the width. So once that is done, you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut that piece out. Just trim this a little bit more and then get this here on top. Okay, and then you're going to do the same thing to this side. Okay, now that we finish cutting these 2 corners, I'm going to take my fabric clip and I'm going to secure or sandwich the fabric here on this end. But on this side of this end, I'm going to use my sewing pins because we need about, let's see, we need about 8 centimeters open over here. So again, I'm gonna just put a fabric clip here. So we're gonna take it to sewing machine and we're gonna sew all the way down here. And over here on this side, we're gonna sew over here until the pin. Leave this space here open, it's about 8 centimeters. And then we're gonna resume to stitch here. So the stitch would be about 1/4 inch. All right, so let's go to the sewing machine so I can show you. All right, I'm gonna start to sew, back stitch. Back stitch. And now I'm gonna go and start to sew this side here. Okay, now I'm sewing, back stitch. As you remember, we're coming toward where the pin is. I'm gonna remove the pin, do 1, 2, 3, and then back stitch. I'm gonna stop, and then I'm gonna resume where the other sewing pin is, and that's where I'm going to start to resume right here. Back stitch a little bit, and then back stitch. As you see, we finished stitching one side, but this side, as you can see, we only stitch apart here and here, and we left the opening open so we can turn the fabric inside out. So now that we have done that and left this 8 centimeters open, I'm gonna open this and we're gonna start to box our corners. So you can see what I'm doing here. And then I'm gonna open the seam here. And I'm gonna take my fabric clip so I can keep that still. And then let me put another one over here and here. All right, and then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to do the same thing. I am going to unfold the seams, put a fabric clip here and here, and also on this side. So we're gonna take it to the sewing machine and we're gonna sew 1/4 inch across for both of these corners, okay? So let's take it to the sewing machine. Okay, I'm here by the sewing machine now, and I'm gonna start to sew. Back stitch. And now the other side. Are you okay? Okay, now I'm going to start to sew. Back stitch. And back stitch. As you can see, we finished sewing both corners of the fabric. And now that we have that taken care of, I'm gonna show you the next step, what to do. So the next step you need to do is you need to cut 2 strips of the main fabric, and the size you're going to be cutting it is 6 centimeters by 35 centimeters. And you're going to do the same thing for the lining fabric. You cut 2 pieces, 6 centimeters by 35 centimeters, and you need to cut 4 strips of interface, and also you're going to be cutting it 6 centimeters by 35 centimeters. Okay, now that we finished cutting our fabric pieces for the main and also the lining and the interface, we are gonna take our main fabric and make sure the side, as I mentioned before, the shining side is facing down, and then you're going to iron it. So once you've finished ironing the interface, you're going to do the same thing to the second piece of the main fabric, as you can see. And also you're going to iron the interface to the lining, and these 2 are already completed. So finish ironing all 4 pieces, and then I'll show you the next step. As you can see here, I stacked both of the main fabrics on top of each other, just making sure that the solid fabric is facing up. And the same thing with the lining, make sure that both of them are facing up. And we're going to take our ruler and also our friction pen, and then we are going to measure here. So it's going to be 1 centimeters for the height, and then we're going to measure 2 centimeters for the width. So let me just line this up here. So this is 2 centimeters, and then of course 1 centimeters for the height. We are going to do the same thing to this side. So I'm going to measure 1 centimeters for the height, and then 2 centimeters for the width. So let me just take my ruler and make sure everything is aligned so I can make my markings. And let me take this side over here and make sure that I have that line straight. So we have here 1 centimeters for the height and 2 centimeters for the width. And then you're going to do the same thing to this side too. So now that we make the markings of 1 centimeters for the height and 2 centimeters with the width for the lining for both and for the main, as you can see, I place a fabric clip to make sure that I have both the linings together and matched up. The same thing for the main fabric. I'm gonna now cut out. Okay, a little more over here. So I'm gonna cut this out. And you're going to do the same thing to the other main fabric, you know, cut those two corners out. As you can see here, we cut the 2 centimeters by 1 centimeters here in the corner. I'm gonna just put the lining here aside and just take one of the main fabric here, this piece here, and then I'm gonna take my zipper. So this zipper side is 44 centimeters long, and then I'm gonna make sure that the puller zipper is facing down. So when I lie it down flat, and then I'm going to take one of my lining pieces and do the same thing. Make sure that if you do have a pattern for the lining pieces, make sure that that pattern is facing down. Okay. So once that is done, then I'm going to take my fabric clips. Okay. And to kind of sandwich everything together. Okay. And then we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and then we're going to stitch right all across. So it's about 1/4 inches. I'll show you more about the seam allowance when we go to the sewing machine. And I'm going to start to sew. Back stitch. As you can see, we finished stitching across. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open up the fabric, and I'm going to use my fingers to press everything down. And once I finish pressing down, I'm going to align the foot presser against the line here of the fabric. So just make sure that you just finger press everything. And if you like, you could use your fabric clips to hold everything down. And I'm gonna move my needle more to the right. And I'm gonna start to sew. Back stitch. And this is what it should look like. Okay, as you can see now, we finished stitching, and then look at the other side how the lining looks. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this lining and I'm going to match it up with here the zipper. Make sure that the lining is facing up with the printed side, and I'm going to make sure that it's lined up here, as you can see here. And then I'm going to take my main fabric and I'm going to place it right here on top and make sure everything is also aligned. And then of course I'm going to take my fabric clips to secure everything together. And then again, we're going to take it to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch right across. So let's go to the sewing machine. I'm going to start to stitch, back stitch, back stitch, and now turn the fabric over and together like this, and then we are going to top stitch along the side. So you could use your finger to flatten it or use a iron for this one. Okay, now I'm going to start stitching down, back stitch, and we are done. As you can see, we have finished top stitching. As you can see, I have my fabric clips. So we're going to take just the two main fabrics together, and then we're going to clip them together. And then we're going to do the same thing to the lining. Take them together. And we're going to clip them. And then we're going to stitch across all four of them, all four. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Back stitch, and then back stitch, Okay, now I pull the zipper a little bit back so it makes it easier for me to sew this other side. Back stitch and continue to sew, and then back stitch. Back stitch and back stitch. Now we're sewing the last part over here. I'm going to pull the zipper back because I really don't want it to get on the way, and I don't want to stitch it by mistake. Okay. So now I'm going to lower the footer, back stitch, and as you can see, we finished stitching those four areas. Now I am going to cut this zipper off so it could be aligned, but this one we have to be careful. We have to just pull the zipper in, as you can see, and then we can cut the remaining part of the zipper off. And as you can see over here, I'm gonna just open up the seam as much as I can. And then I'm going to make it like this shape here. I don't know how to say it. And then I'm gonna take my fabric clips and clip here on this side, and also on this side. As you can see, it automatically makes that little triangle shape that we need. Okay. Make sure it's all aligned. And also see if I can open up the seam. Okay. And then I'm gonna place the fabric clip here also, and also here. So you could double check. And then we're gonna take it to the sewing machine, and we're gonna stitch across here, and we're gonna stitch across here. Okay, I'm at the sewing machine. Now we are going to stitch on top here, back stitch, and now we're gonna stitch the other side, stitch. And we are done. As you can see, we stitched the ends, and now I'm going to open it up. See how it looks over here? So now we are going to take our fabric clips and we're going to clip together the lining and the main fabric together, sandwich the fabric together. And let me do this one over here. Okay. Once you finish clipping everything together, we're going to take it to the sewing machine. I'm going to start over here and we're going to go and sew top stitch all around. Okay, around this here. And let's go to the sewing machine. We're at the sewing machine and I'm going to start to sew. Back stitch. Back stitch, and we are done. As you can see, we finished stitching all around, and I'm going to show you the next step, what you need to do. Okay, now I'm just going to tilt this and then take the lining, make sure that the patterns from the lining inside matches from what we have here outside. And then we are going to start to clip. We're going to line this around and we are going to clip around. I'm going to start over here at the edge here and see if I could open the seam allowance. I'm going to do the same thing to this side over here. Open the seam allowance. Okay, and then you're going to continue to clip, use your fabric clips to sandwich and secure the lining to this edge over here. As you can see, I already prepared the fabric clips all around, and I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and start to sew. Before you start to sew, make sure you open up the zipper. And as you can see, have the foot presser aligned against the edge of the fabric here. Back stitch. We are coming to the end here. Back stitch. as you can see here, we finished stitching all around. Now we're going to take the main fabric, as you can see here, and make sure that the straps are down for each side. Now I'm going to just take this and insert it into the bag. And when I do that, we're going to start now using our fabric clips. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that the seam is matching this seam here, and then I'm going to take a fabric clip and clip it here to secure it. I'm going to go to the other side over here and do the same thing. Make sure these two are aligned and even, and take a fabric clip. Just make sure I push everything in. Okay, and then you're going to start, like I said, look at the handles, make sure the handles are in, and start clipping the fabric all around. Okay, now you see that I have used the fabric clips and secure the bag all around. And then now we're going to take it to the sewing machine and start sewing. Now we're going to start sewing. I was able to move my needle more to the left. Hopefully you're able to do that on your sewing machine. I'm going to start to sew. Back stitch. Okay, I'm coming to the end here. I'm going to remove the fabric clips. And now I'm going to back stitch. As you can see, I finished stitching all around. Now that we're done doing that, where we made the opening in the lining, we're going to slowly turn the fabric inside out. So just continue doing that. Do it gently. Take your time when you're turning the fabric inside out. All right, now I'm going to put the lining in. See what it looks like. All right. So now I'm going to pull the lining out because we need to close that opening. You can top stitch if you like, or you're going to sew this edge here, this opening here in the sewing machine. So I'm going to be doing that now. I'm going to sew that area open and closing to close it. Okay, as you can see, I'm here and I'm going to start to sew the opening of the lining. Back stitch. And back stitch. All right, we finished closing that opening on the lining. I'm gonna insert it back into the bag. Now, the next step we're going to be doing is we are going to fold this here, like you see here. You can use the clip here. Make sure it's nicely. And you're going to go all around and use the fabric clip to clip this and make sure that you have the handles out of the way while you're doing this. So please continue going all around. You can see here I finished clipping all around the bag here, and we're going to take it to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch all around. And make sure you change your stitching length, I can't even speak, your stitching length, because it's a little more thicker, so I usually will put it on a number 4 or 4.5 stitching length. So let's go to the sewing machine. Okay, I'm here on the sewing machine, and let's start sewing. We are coming to the end. And back stitch. As you can see, I finished stitching all across the bag. Okay, and this is what it looks like inside over here. The bag looks great with the lining. And then of course, close the zipper, and the bag is done. I hope everyone enjoyed watching this tutorial on how to make this cute bag. If you do like the bag, please give it a thumbs up and also share with your friends and your family. And this is a great sewing project. You can, if you become very good and you match the skills, you can sell it online. And also I just want to make a note, in the description box below, I listed all the materials and all the tools and a link where you can purchase them. So again, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Until next time.